shot. So anyways, in talking about change, the reality is that life is a process of change, but change puts a demand on us. Demand on us. And of course, as you realize, you're right in the middle of another change. All of us in the workplace have demand put on us. And it's all about how do you deal with the demands put on you. So this is the personal side. This is the psychological, internal reality about change. And if you create a change, and I've met with your transition team, and we talked about it. If you create a change that's brilliant, but you don't take the people into account who have to go through the process of change, that's why you read change. Massive changes that are tried in corporations do not succeed in their intent. They fail. Why did they fail? I mean, there's some brilliant people creating the change. The only place they really fall down is in this idea of the transition and taking people through the transition. And it's sort of, Shakespeare had a quote about, wounds only heal a little bit at a time. So when you make a change, it's time for people to deal with the transition. So coming to terms with it is the real challenge we have as people involved in helping change occur. Now, I just want to bring you back to the last session and about the 4 high traits we dealt with. And we talked about these 4 high traits. You did your profile, and the numbers in the profile, dominance is the 1, extroversion is the 2, patience is the 3, and conformity is the 4. And of course, all of us have these traits in different intensities and in different patterns. So I just want to talk to you about how, and we talked about dominance, control, being concerned, and getting results. So you've got a lot of dominant people in your organization, in your group, and this tends to be the generality of people in that group. The more extroverted of you and around you tend to be focused in a slightly different way. Those that you know that are patient, or patience is their high trait. When you talk about change, the conflict involved in change can be very demanding. And also you've got a lot of very analytic people, and their approach to change is quite different than the other traits. So let's take a look at, yes, the glasses are still on. I'm sorry. I thought it was such a... I thought you were pleased with the answer last time, so I didn't change anything.
We have a few more pair of glasses today.
Oh, well, good. I said it was all about intelligence and thoughtfulness and scholarliness, and I got away with it, so thank you. So how do you handle change? We asked these 4 high traits, how do they handle change? Well, we know our dominant, they want to drive change to get results. So, the faster the better, let's get there, and let's get it done. Our more patient person, as you see, agreement's important. Extrovert, of course, they sort of build their focus of reality around change. And of course, analytics tend to be comfortable in the current reality and really need to be sure that the change is appropriate, well thought out, and is going to succeed. Okay, let's take a look at this pattern would be an extrovert, high extrovert, and low in conformity. And so these are the people you said were lined up out front of the Apple store. I mean, they've been there for 2 days already, and they want to get in on this just because it's new and exciting. But of course, they need help with the details because that's not really their forte. Let's look at our dominant, who is low patience. They want to have control over the change, but because they're low patient, they really are puzzled by people who worry and are so concerned about it and tend to worry about change a lot more than they do. Now we've got our high patient who is low dominant, and we'll see how she reacts. And in fact, you'll find that given the right approach and the well-thought-out leading that goes on, it works. We're now looking at our high conformist, who is a low extrovert. And in fact, the idea that groups are formed and a lot of talking occurs may not be the only way to get ideas from this individual. They're very willing and have a lot of good ideas that can be exchanged and presented, but they, in many cases, prefer to do their thinking on their own. So that's something to consider. Okay, what do you know? In change, we talk about the 4 P's that have to be taken into account to hit each of these 4 high traits. So if we start over here, number 1, you need to have a thorough plan. The individual here, with a plan, you can get their attention and help get their buy-in. This individual, you need to have a purpose. And we need to understand what your ideas are about the change, backed up by a vision. This individual needs the picture. They want to know what the picture is of this change. And this person wants to know what's their part to play in the change. So when you're dealing with change, you have to take into account these different reactions to the presentation of the kind of change, the kind of involvement that people need. So if you happen to be a person who just needs the plan, you've got to remember to take into account some of the other folks. If you just need the purpose and the vision, let's go, you again need to be concerned because 2 of the high traits are thinkers, 2 of them are feelers, 2 are sensors, and 2 operate on intuition. Can you tell me which high trait is number 1? Based on your thorough examination from last time and your research into the module in front of you, which high trait is the... Okay, we've got 2 opinions. Any facts out there? Why would you say it's the conformist?
Needs a lot of planning.
Pardon?
The conformist would need a lot of planning.
Okay.
Doesn't like change.
Okay. Okay, and what about the thinker part? Who are our 2 thinkers? Who would you say are the 2 thinkers versus who are the 2 feelers in the high traits? Who's the feelers? Let's start down here. Who would you think are the 2 feelers that express their emotion more? Extrovert. Extrovert and patience. Okay, so the 2 feelers in our little world of 4 would be, and our thinkers are therefore the dominant and conformist. So, so the thinking side has to be dominant and conformist. You selected conformist because they also are sensors. Now, when you deal with someone who is a sensor, and in this case it's the conformist and the patient, they have to see what you're talking about. You have to have the plan in front of them. Don't sit there and give them ideas because you're relying on intuition. You're saying this is what could be. It's not here now, but let's visualize something that could be. Well, that's what we would call intuition. You have to sort of guess at it, make it up in your mind when it isn't there. That's not going to fly for a high analytic or a high patient person. They'd be much more comfortable if you have a very detailed, well thought out plan and some data to back it up. Not just blah blah, vision, image, picture. That's not going to really cut it. So what we've got here is we've got a thinker who is a sensor, which is our high conformist. They need a plan, they need to know the purpose for the change. Over here are dominant, if what you're planning fits with the dominant's view of things, and they can easily see what you're talking about, and they love to focus on change that will improve and get even better results. Down here we've got your extrovert. They want to see the picture of it. If you can show them the picture, explain a picture. They also want a part to play. What's my role in the transition, and what's my role when it's finished? And they do not mind change. They are always looking for a move from the routine. Here we have our patient person. They need a role to play, and they can be encouraged if change simplifies their processes, their life at work. And back to our individual here. So that's what we've got in this situation. Now, and I'll just touch going to transition. There are 3 stages of the process of transition, okay? The transition requires that you let go of the past. You have to realize that in most changes, there's going to be this difference that you're going into. You're going to be a little different, your functions will be a little different, your world will be a little different in the future, but you're not going to comfortably go there unless you let go of the past. And that can be one of the most difficult aspects for people encouraging change. They forget the fact that people will and could be losing something by letting go. They were in a situation that was very positive. Now you're asking them to let go of something. Always very important for us to learn to let go of the past when we have to move forward. The middle ground is the planning for change, and that's where a lot of where you are at the moment, and it's a wonderful time because it's an opportunity for creativity. Things are changing, so you have a chance to put your 2 cents in, to give your creative ideas so that the outcome will be different and better. Last but not least is aligning yourself once the change has been complete. We saw last time the geese flying together. We saw that it's a 70% energy advantage to be aligned as a group. In a way, if you're not willing to align, you best be finding work somewhere else, because obviously it'd be very stressful, very difficult. And I've seen it even all the way up to vice presidents in an organization who refused to align and eventually were let go. So it is a very challenging 3 stages, and we have to consider them both for personal change and when we get into planning change for others. Okay, I want to operate for the next